and welcome to Friday Facts number 385 with Superforce Building, and I have my good friend, the Super Mojo. How you doing, mate?
Hello. I thought you were going to say the Firewire Mojo or something.
No, we're talking about Firewire prior to the Friday Facts. You can always watch the pre and post Friday Facts over on the stream channel with the link somewhere. I don't know, description, pinned comment, something like that. But hi, welcome. Take a seat. Cool. So we have updates from the previous Friday Facts. We're basically covering things that we've covered previously. Yes. So, tile building animation showcase the previous Friday Facts is now integrated in the game, and this is how it looks. Thoughts, Mojo?
Looks pretty neat. This is the thing that I think this was the thing that V said that he forgot to include in one of the previous ones.
Yes, he said he forgot to include the animation of it being made because I don't believe it was quite in the game yet.
Yeah, it was. The animation was there, but it wasn't quite ready yet.
Yeah. Look, the animation is cool. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's very generic. Okay, I want to see some variation with how it builds itself out. That's my only request.
It'd be interesting to see what happens if it's connected to another section.
Whether it builds from multiple places at once, I assume it builds multiple connections at the same time.
And what happens when two of these expanding connections collide?
Or you build two towards one another. Good point. Good point. I want to see variation, but then again, I already know that I'm gonna look at this once and go, "Oh, this is cool. This is amazing," and then never stop to look at it a second time. Yes, it is one of those animations. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. I just realized. So,
Yeah.
so the reason why this is drawn the way it is because it doesn't form a closed section like an island. So it won't
Correct.
actually build if you create an island.
Correct.
Huh.
If you blueprint it out in the middle of nowhere, it won't appear because it needs to come from the main hub out.
Yes.
And then if you deconstruct the connection, all
No.
of this falls
Now I
away.
want to know what happens if it goes like this, then turn it into an island. It goes the last little bit to enclose it. Does it stop?
Huh? Oh, so you want to have it half build and then disconnect
Half build, and then, or not disconnect it because it'll just instantly destroy. But I mean, close the loop. So you create the hole.
the hole?
platform.
It should just build.
Will it build or will it stop? Because it's now enclosed and it won't. Because you've seen the previous ones, it stops building. It won't build it until the entire hole is filled.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find some way to break it when it's released. I'm sure of it.
Surely, yes.
Yes, either that or they're going to listen to the Friday Facts that we're doing and then they go, yeah, we should probably look at that before they get their hands on it. Yeah, one or the other. So we have the cool building animation, and yeah, I want to see variation. That's really it. Yeah, that's
As I say, it is a work in progress and things to improve, but it's just showing progress.
Yep. Of course, being the engine doesn't actually mean it's completely done. It's still work in progress. Some things we'd like to improve with it, but showcasing a bit of progress week by week. It's also part of the fun. It is. That's why we do the Friday Facts. Then we have our Superforce building with Super Mojo. In the recent Friday Facts number 380, we talk about the possibility of building ghost enemies on top of ghost tiles, so you don't have to wait for landfill or space platforms that are finished to build on top of them. It's nice, but obviously just a preparation for the main feature we all miss so much with the Superforce building. So Control plus Shift plus left click equals Superforce building, which is what we already have to force build things.
Well, it's shift click to force building. Now we have super force building, adding control to it on top of it.
Okay, you're right.
That mean if we go control shift Alt, we get super duper force building eventually?
Okay. Yes, Mojo. In the beginning, we had the normal way of building blueprints, which me and Mojo will both remember, with anything blocking the way of the blueprint from being built. So when you first went to a mining outpost, back in my day, when we had to walk 15 miles uphill to school in both directions, you would have to...
The iron patch.
The iron patch, yep. You would have to get a decon planner, scrape the whole area that needed to be scraped to make sure there were no trees, no rocks, nothing else in the way, or at least they're marked for decon, before putting your blueprint on top. and then probably go around and double check all the edges in case you missed a bit where there'd be a stupid tree sitting in the way. So therefore you couldn't, put down that bit of belt, that miner, whatever it happened to be, because that tree hadn't been marked for decon. That was fixed with the shift build, and now we have a control shift build, which will put down landfill by default from the looks of this. Also, I'm noticing that right below the power pole, there's one tile that's not occupied, so therefore it doesn't get landfill.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Forcing landfill down and it's auto-placing landfill where it needs to be and leaving that one hole there just to annoy you.
Just to annoy you. So when you're trying to run through the build or the whatever you put down in the middle of the sea, you're going to find there's one little tiles of landfill that you will see that you're going to run into and stop running. Yep, it's going to be annoying. So yes, they did update Factorio back in the day so you could hold down shift to, force the blueprint down and mark all the trees and rocks for deconstruction. And now we can do control shift left click, which I gotta say, is there ever going to be a reason for you to not hold down control whilst you're forcing down a blueprint?
I mean, sometimes you don't want to paste a blueprint if there's something blocking it. Sometimes.
I'm just trying to think, like, even if I'm building wall defenses right up against a lake, I'm like, no, I probably want to landfill a good section of that to make sure that, the biters don't attack the edge of the wall at, the weak part of the wall where there's water beside it. I want it filled out into the sea, lake, whatever it happens to be, a little bit to make sure that it's doubly defended, because that's where the biters are going to attack the most, at the edges. Not destroying cliffs, maybe, yeah. I don't know.
They can get marked for decon and then the bots come blow it up. Or you manually blow them up.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an exception, but it's automated.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yes, we do have a super duper duper force build, make it so, which I'm a fan of. I'm definitely a fan of. After playing C Block for a year now, I'm definitely a fan of. Since that time, it's happened frequently here and there, we felt that still wasn't enough. So space platform building was the last...
Space platform?
Yeah, space platform, yep. Was the last push where we couldn't ignore this feature anymore, and we had to implement it. With landfill, there's an occasional problem, as water is not everywhere, but with space platform building, it's always a problem. Yes, and we still don't have any sort of animation for how things appear on a space platform. There's still hope for the
appear.
Yep, there's still hope for the Factorio Scorpius.
The insidious Factorius.
Yep. There's still hope. So once we already had Super Force building mode, it was natural to include other properties of it. The mindset behind Super Force building is you want to force the blueprint no matter what, like building rails through solar field. So this is how we made it behave. Thoughts?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's a very contrived application. It did actually give me the idea of a map which generates a solar field, a tiled solar field, as you explore.
Oh, okay. So you're just building through solar whether you like it or not.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, you're just building solar.
Okay. Look, I have definitely had to run a train track through the middle of a solar field, and I've just used indiscriminately a decon planer, and I've just removed everything between track 1 and track 2. And then if I've cared about the solar, I've blueprinted it back down afterwards. But I don't often build through builds with large things like train tracks. Yeah.
It's not something specific. I mean, unless it's specifically replacing a build, but even then, the remnants of the previous one's going to be in the way.
You're gonna be here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. So it's nice for those that build lots of solar fields and really want to run their train tracks through the middle of it. Yep. But then we have manual super force building. So we're only speaking about blueprints at this point, but once super force building worked its way into our muscle memory, we started to try and use it when building enemies manually. Similar how you build ghosts manually with the shift modifier, and get rid of trees in a way automatically. Great English again. So we added super force building as a direct build shortcut, not a specialized building modifier.
So this one is actually more useful, as you can see.
So... But we're just blueprinting things down by holding control and Yeah,
Yeah, so
control and
control
shift.
shift and then placing down the walls and make the laser turrets get out of the way. How many times have you wanted something to get out of the way when you're placing a wall? Because it's like off by one. It's
Yeah.
always off by one.
Yeah, everything's always off by one. Everything's off by one. You just move the whole base. The whole base from the start, all over left
Just
one tile.
move it over one tile.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, look, it's something I would just expect. I wouldn't be expected ever to be limited to just blueprints. I would expect it to be automatically linked to ghost building as well. So I'm glad it is. And yes, I can see this being used an awful lot. And again, I could definitely see this is going to be a situation where you're just going to automatically hold control and shift to do every single building of ghosts. Every single building of ghosts. I can't see any reason you're going to hold just shift and not shift and control. Except for the rare occasion of, okay, you might want to not destroy cliffs because you're going to use them as part of the defense. But if you hold down shift, they're still going to get marked for decon.
And I also question your sanity if you don't want to get rid of cliffs.
Cliffs are very, very good defense in a wall.
I mean, yeah, if you're using them as defense, yes. Otherwise,
in
that case, you are actually like, you're not going to be forced blueprinting around them.
Yeah, but also, why did you turn on cliffs in the first place? Yes. Okay, so build interaction.
That's also under question.
Once we got used to this, as part of the start of a marriage, we had Superforce building over belts, and then we have to manually fix things right after. If you're a regular reader, you'll know that the word manual is always an indication of change. It is generally. We've been doing this Friday Facts enough that it's not always a guarantee, but yeah, we'll continue with that. So now when you super force build over belts, it automatically places undergrounds, which means the spaghetti is going to intensify a lot.
Which is always good, isn't it?
Depends. There is some spaghetti you're like, ooh, that's that probably shouldn't be there. Yeah, like a radar in the middle of a copper line. Yeah.
Surely you want a radar in the middle of a copper line.
Look, I'm used to building assemblers like. Oh, look, there's everything there, I think, to make solar panels, radars in the bus. Yep, I would probably just make radars right there in the middle of the bus.
I also question drawing out a lubricant pipe without any undergrounds.
Yeah, well, that was a question that had come up in the pre-Friday Facts. What happens with underground pipes? Well, straight pipes. If you have a long set of straight pipes and you force blueprint over something, is it going to actually add the undergrounds finally? Because you broke the pipe?
That is a good question because I don't know. Because we haven't seen it do pipe to grounds so far.
Pipe to grounds is not something that the Factorio belt logic currently does. But in this clip here where we run the 5 belts through the 6 belt main bus, you did mention that when you're force ghosting blueprints or belts down that they all changed at the wrong angle, and the devs already said we're going to fix it.
They're fixing it.
That
was a picture that someone grabbed from, I think it was Reddit. They happened to spot it in the video. You need to actually see it as it going through, and it's just a technical issue.
It's a technical issue.
They're fixing.
Well, they've finally fixed the technical issue of straight pipes not connecting to one another when ghosted, so, it's on the list. There's just one they're fixing prior to releasing things. Yep. This is going to be very bad for spaghetti. I can definitely see a number of spaghetti bases getting much worse.
Spaghetti intensifies.
Yeah. Okay. Mining landfill. Landfill's always been a little bit tricky. As it stands, it kind of breaks the fundamental symmetry of base building, in that everything you build can be undone. Any mistake can be erased without judgment. But with landfill, one wrong click and it's there forever, and that has caused so much pain.
It's there until you do /editor.
Yeah, it's true. But I've built something, I've landfilled out, and then just one misclick and it's moved out one tile. I'm like, okay, fine, I gotta redo the whole thing, make it all one tile longer, and then I guarantee I slip by one tile again. So now I just ghost everything. I ghost everything from map view, and dead straight lines never a problem. So
doing nuclear, in particular, one wrong move and the whole thing's ruined, and that's where the /editor comes from. It's a lot easier to just fix it than in the editor than try and work around it.
So it's been long on our wish list to make mining landfill work, but the code and logic around building and mining were not set up effectively for it. One major problem is that tile placement permanently removed placement removal would instantly and uncompromisingly destroy or kill anything that was colliding with it when it was changed. Additionally, mining landfill is a specific case, but making the system generalized for all combinations of placing mining tiles with varying collision mass, for example, a placeholder water mod. Placeholder water mod. Wonder if we're going to be able to place water in the future. Okay, would involve touching a lot of systems.
Not likely.
Building, mining, blueprints, upgrades to deconstruction. With Superforce building, the problem of nowhere back when building landfill areas even more dangerous and liable to misclicks. So we knew we had to make mining landfill happen. Through hard work and dedication, our Roman was able to clean up all the tile building and mining code, handle all the cases of collisions between entities and tiles, make it work really, really nice in an intuitive way. And you even see some evidence of the groundwork for this back in 1.1.5, back in December 2021, where we had the tile prototype, a check collision with entity's property, which we've gone and looked up. And it means that it's going to check to see if there's a building on top of the tile before you can mine it.
Yes. And what's actually really interesting, I didn't have the link for it up, is that someone linked a forum post from 2018, someone requesting this interface.
This particular feature. Yeah.
Yes. And the reply was, it will be added, Arsene replied, it will be added to the game if you can find a way to incorporate it without taking a huge performance hit.
Yeah.
Which means it's very performant.
Or they've optimized the hell out of it.
Yes.
They've had to rewrite a whole section to get things working, and it's taken 3 years since that request, so it's probably fixed.
Very likely.
But it does mean that technically, I guess, maps are going to be larger now, because when you landfill something, you're not just replacing it permanently with landfill. The game now needs to remember that there's water underneath, and what type of water. Because
landfill always knows that there's water underneath, and there's only. That's actually an interesting thought.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
There's different types of water.
There are multiple types of water.
Does it know if it's deep water or shallow water?
Well, it's something that they're now going to have to save somewhere. They're going to have to save that it's either deep water, shallow water, or technically green water, which is the type you could walk through.
Yeah, that's the third type. Well, there's actually 4 types of water, because there's deep dark green water and shallow green water.
Yeah, they've got a green tint to them. There's green water that you can't walk through and green water that you can walk through.
But they get rid of those.
No, they're still in the game. They're not in the game as in they show up randomly during a map generation, but they're still in the game used for the tutorials. Yes.
Yeah, in the demo missions and so on.
Yeah. At the same time, we found out that scorch marks, i.e. nuclear explosions, can technically have a color.
Yes.
Yep.
Speaking of scorch marks, so the question was asked, so there's a thing you can do where, because landfill has no pollution absorption. It's pollution absorption of 0.
Correct.
But if you nuke the landfill and turn it into nuclear fallouts, it gains pollution absorption. Half as much as water, but it's better than 0.
It's better than 0. Yeah.
Does that mean you can mine the landfill, which is now nuclear tiles?
No.
The tiles have been replaced.
No, because they're nuclear tiles. You can't mine nuclear tiles. All right? Because the tile has been replaced. Exactly. You're only going to be able to mine landfill, just like you won't be able to mine natural grass. But it does mean that
there's actually just randomly going back a step. There's actually 6
water
types of water.
Oh wow. Okay, it's more than even I knew about. But yes, it does mean if you landfill large sections of your base and you want to actually have pollution absorption, go around with nuclear weapons. Although if you concrete, it also has a pollution absorption factor of 0. So concrete and bricks and any other, normal Factorio tiles that we'd use to beautify the base also have a pollution absorption of 0. So you've been warned. Yes, as you slowly concrete the world, the pollution gets worse. Yeah. Landfill underneath player wasn't marked for deconstruction. In general, landfill can't be mined if there is something on top, but typically enemies on top, machines, furnaces, belts will also be marked for deconstruction anyway, so they'll be removed and allow the landfill to be mined. So you're gonna have to. I'm thinking in reverse. So if you're gonna have like a 3-tile gap around the player, or a 3-tile gap around the player. If you mark a whole section of the map that you've landfilled in, built a, I don't know, nuclear power plant or whatever, and then decon the whole lot, it's going to pick up all the antis, then pick up all the landfill underneath. I'm wondering if we could get a filtered decon planner that just removes landfill that's not currently being used.
That would be interesting.
Or whether we're going to have to like blueprint the whole thing down, and then with the landfill, just cover the whole area with landfill, then copy the thing, deconstruct all the landfill and all the things on top of it, and then paste it back down. At which point, if we go back to our little solar panel with our missing patch of water, we're going to end up with that, where it's going to have missing patches wherever there's belts or wherever there's a gap in the blueprint, and that tile doesn't have to be filled in with landfill, where they'll leave the gaps that way. Because I gotta say, I prefer to build with all the tiles there, and then when I'm finished, especially on something like C block where you go through thousands and thousands and thousands of tiles worth of landfill, be able to recover my landfill that I don't need afterwards. Yes. But it's great that we can now mine landfill. I'm waiting for the time when somebody decons a large area and then runs their player through it as the bots are trying to pick it up and accidentally drowns. I also hope that when a player drowns, that their armor and contents of their body also disappear because it drowned. It seems fitting.
They get eaten by a kraken, swallowed a whole, and never to be seen again.
Yeah, it's how we repopulate the sea and the fish. Yeah, by throwing players in there. Yeah. And with Superforce building, it was only natural to make the interaction with landfill work in the opposite direction. So now, as long as you've landfilled the area beforehand, therefore it's water underneath, you can put pumps down on landfill. Makes stepping down a steam engine or reactor setup so much nicer and less worrisome. So yes, putting down a nuclear reactor build, you can landfill first and then put down the reactor build afterwards. Although technically, as long as the reactor has the pumps connected to the reactor as part of the blueprint, you could just force build the whole reactor build with the pumps.
With the landfill already there and pumps there and everything.
Yep, it'll place the pumps that are as required, the landfill as required, and build the whole thing for you. So yeah, more reactors at sea. I can definitely see that much happening.
So equally as many as normal, really.
Yeah, well, it's going to be easier. That's probably the most important thing.
If anything, it makes oil bases in the ocean easier. Oh, jam the pumps right at the whatever it needs, the pump.
Oh, that's true. Especially when you go mega base oil, water throughput becomes a real big issue.
Especially on the sulfur and the acid builds.
Yeah. Oh, not just that. Just even the oil refineries. After you put 12 beacons around them or something, with prod mods, they drink water.
Oh yeah. Those have both water and oil throughput issues, though.
Yeah, but the oil is a given. The water is not one you always think about.
Yeah, that is true. Because the oil, you're always ramming it down there, adding pumps, and then you always forget the water.
Yeah.
The acid, because it's just so much water.
Yeah, it's a lot of water normally, and then when you add the prod mods and the beacons and everything else, you could have one of those go through 600 water per tick, per second, per...
Something like that, yeah.
Ridiculous. It's a lot of water.
Pump.
And... Oh, Mojo. Thought for you. Currently, if we put down a pump in landfill... So if we put down a pump and then landfill the area around it, we end up with a... It's not called an offshore pump anymore. It's called a underground pump. No, a land pump.
Water well pump, I think.
Water well pump. Does that mean that's still an option? Can we still do that?
Didn't they remove the water well pump thing or something?
I don't think so.
Because the landfish has been removed, sadly.
The landfish was removed, yes. Yes,
that's very sad.
They were all finally killed off.
Day.
But yeah, I wonder if we can still landfill around them, because there are definitely builds where it's important to have land on both sides of that pump for stuff like oil builds, where you need to have the oil pipes on either side of it to make sure that, your refineries work. Yeah. And beacons and all the other things. So I really hope they don't break that, because that would very much change builds. Also, a side note, and we've both had conversations about this and arguments about this currently, but we only have 2 pumps have alt mode on. I don't know why.
Yeah, originally I thought it was because it doesn't show on every tile, but no, pumps should show
On every tile.
their output no matter what.
Yep. So two of them don't get water. They're pumping seaweed. And with that, I think that's it for the Friday Facts. It's a relatively short one.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about here. It's just a show and tell.
It's a show and tell. And I'll wait for next week.
Next question, yes, water well pumps are still a thing.
Yeah, of course they are. I told you they were. I know this thing.
For some reason, I was thinking that it had gone, but no, I don't know why. I think it was a long week. It was a very long week.
It has been a long week. All right. Well, with that said and done, as always, we're going to leave this Friday Facts here. We're going to invite you next week for more Friday Facts, which may be delayed because Mojo's going to go do things in real life. I don't know. I don't get it either. Something grass. But
kids these days.
Yep. All things these days. And
kids these days and their funny phrases.
Grass is a funny phase. Yep. Avoid it.
Phase, yes.
Yep. All right, that's it. We're out. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. See you in the next Friday Facts, next video, whatever it happens to be. All right, we're out. Bye.
Bye-bye.